today we have a bit of a final countdown or final loop, and we'll take a look at some of the trends and some of the rhetoric as we count down a little bit more to come right up. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Black Spring on your Monday. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Thank you guys so much for coming in and taking the time to come in. So, shout out to the loyal patrons, the subscribers, as well as the actual Periscope followers. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And I want to just do just a little bit of a reflection, if you will. I mean, the weekend. We've seen quite a few. Of course, we've seen the continuation of the rallies and people that are just really energized. And we've seen some evidence that some people are not so energized. So I want to get into that just a little bit. It's going to be a bit of a shorter stream, and I hope you guys are doing well out there. Thanks so much for taking the time to come in. And of course, we had everything from the regular, from the pundits, if you will, to the, of course, our alternative media sources all weekend, more rallies, of course, more rhetoric from career politicians. And we are less than 48 hours away right now. So, of course, if you are out there and you would like to tag in on this segment, you are more than welcome to do so. Hi, thanks so much for coming in, Touchdown Sean. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you for coming in. But what I'm going to do is we're going to just talk just a little bit. This will be not quite a rant, but just want to speak a little bit casually about, or a little bit candid about some things that I've noticed over the weekend. So for one, I want to talk just a little bit briefly. I want to share a clip of you from yours truly, Maxine Waters of the 43rd District of Los Angeles. And of course, she's running against Joe Collins. And that's definitely going to be one to watch. I want to speak a little bit about some commentary that she's made, pretty audacious per usual, coming from her. But then also I just want to speak a little bit even more candidly on some of the rhetoric that's coming out. And it's, there's a culture, I think there's a new culture. I think for the first time ever, we can see how diverse people are when it comes to whether they're conservatives or whether they are independents. We've got this whole swath of opinions and conjecture, and just there's a bit of gaslighting, there's a bit of fear mongering. And I'm not offering you a survival guide, but I just think that it's getting over the top. I think at this point we're dealing with, what do you want to call it, a little bit of the calm before the anticipated storm. So who knows? I am under the impression that cities are actually preparing. In fact, we'll go a little bit of insight on that. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream. We're going to change the format a little bit on shout outs and things. So shout out to Anthony Scioli. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate all you do to support the channel. And Anthony, feel free to drop your own link. That's, we're going to go ahead and do that. If you're interested in dropping your own link there, that would help out quite a bit. So yeah, I appreciate you so much for coming in. So so we'll get into some specifics here in just 1 second, but this is going to be a little bit, I'll do the format just a little differently, just a little bit different. Thanks so much for coming in. So I want to say something specific. I saw, or I've heard, of course, it's like we're on to some type of rhetoric in which, of course, you've seen the tweets come out over the weekend. You see these things all the time, but these are the last. I call this the final loop because I think there's rhetoric, of course, coming out on both sides. You've got extremes from the left and the progressives, and then you've got conservative rhetoric that's coming out. Which one's going to hold true? I think this could go either way. I think things could go either way. I really do. Did I say whether it's how just is it going to be based on fairness? I think it's anybody's call on this. Thanks so much. Nice to see you, Pammy Clyde. It's been a long time. Thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Shout out to you, Pammy Clyde. Really appreciate it. And I just want to keep going with that. So yes, I've seen quite a few things over the weekend, and it's almost, you've got a couple of extremes. So this one particular extreme is it's almost like there's a rhetoric going on as if it's almost being pushed out. The propaganda is almost starting to level up to wartime, like a wartime propaganda, as if for one, if Trump's coming out of office, that like what's post Trump, if he comes out of office, it seems like they're projecting, making projections as if there's going to be like some type of we're going to be on the verge of some type of trials. Like, what are you guys projecting? Like America's Nuremberg trials or something? Oh, we need to make things right. Or it's amazing the things that are coming out, as if Hitler is leaving office and now his regime members, or they're going to be on the run, or they're going to be hiding. And it's amazing that the rhetoric and the things that are coming out. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. And I've thought about that once before, because when people talk about, when I've heard of people discuss Trump supporters, I've heard all kinds of rhetoric and things about, there's going to be a response, or those people will be made known if they actually vote for Trump, and they're going to be, on a list. Basically, I've heard all kinds of rhetoric and propaganda, and it's really over the top. So this final loop, I'm saying that you might hear anything, and it's really over the top. And it would just be nice if they just stop. I'm a supporter of course, citizen journalism. I'm a supporter of course, alternative news sources. But are we any different if we are going to project and do the same types of fear mongering? We're out of material. So what are we going to start doing? You're going to start doing the fear mongering or the gaslighting. Is that going to be a part of the alternative media tactics now? It's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't know, you kind of just have to, it makes people want to shut down. It just makes you just kind of want to turn off. But we're just getting started. We really are. We're just getting started. So shout out to everyone that's in the stream. Thanks so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Hi, KG Cleveland. Thanks so much for coming in. Shout out to Joseph Francis Burton. Thanks so much. Let's see. I'll get to your guys' comments, but what I want to do, there's something specific that I want to go to. I want to play the clip of Maxine Waters. I guess she's some kind of all-knowing savior or whatever. Yeah, it's just amazing to me, the audacity of people that are servants. They're supposed to serve the people. Instead, it's projected for us to fear them. It's really pretty gross. So with that said, I'm going to start off with this clip of Maxine Waters and what she decided to add she decided to add to the flavor on the final loop. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So, and this is of course directed at the Black community is what she's doing. And she's running out of juice. I guess they don't have the juice. What, you had Obama on the trail over the weekend, and yeah, it's just it's way over the top. It's way too much. It's last ditch efforts, final loops, desperation, projection, gaslighting, propaganda, fear mongering. What else do you need? So, and the rhetoric is just, it's thick right now. And you would think that it would start to, be kind of fizzling out right now. But I think this is everybody's last ditch effort to grab the attention of those who are still on the fence. I'm not convinced that people are on the fence right now about who they're voting for, if they're voting with some level of conviction. I just don't believe people haven't made up their minds at this point. But maybe they'll sway some people. They got to cover all of their bases. So with that said, we'll take you over to the 43rd District's very own career politician, Maxine Waters. So I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And yes, if Anthony Scioli, please drop your own link. And anyone else from the patrons, feel free to drop your own link if you're interested. So we're going to go over right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
Somehow, if they are going to support Trump, that they're going to realize some big sums of money that's going to come to them through some damn proposals that they're going to present, and they're going to be taken care of, and they're going to be able to manage all of this money. They are crazy. They're not going to get a dime from these people. They don't even know how to put together the right kind of proposals to even be considered in this way that government works, and how you have to get through the House and the Senate and all of these committees, even in order to get to the president to sign something, and he's not going to sign a darn thing for them. He's a racist.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 43rd District's very own Maxine Waters. So there is her, that's her message, I guess. I mean, I really would think that she would have some encouragement for people voting however they are voting. But instead, you get this nasty, bitter, what do they call it? I think she's the epitome of the angry Black woman. She's got to be. But she's also I think she's very power hungry. She's power struggling. And that's what you get. For one, it's also what I want to say is that I think this is a result of career politicians, or in this case, some people say from a cultural perspective, this is an overseer. She's losing her power. She's losing her grip. And I'm hoping that Joe Collins will give her a good run. We'll see. I mean, if you guys don't remember, we had Joe Collins on back in May of earlier this year. And Joe talked a little bit about his platform at that time. If you guys don't remember, go into the archives if you're interested in seeing that actual interview with Joe Collins, because I had him to do a little bit of an intro of himself and, and just talk about, who he was. Just introduce yourself to, for one, the community. And I think he's connected to the community based on experience. And he's actually, according to, he's living in the community, in the same community, in the same district that he's running for. So I think that makes a difference. And he's got an actual visibility that I don't think Waters has had. I mean, I think we caught a glimpse of her trying to micromanage a police stop, and that was caught on film, which was kind of ridiculous. Shout out to What Is She Up To Now? Thank you so much. Good morning to you. So so we're going to keep going here, but so this is the thing, this is my thing. She talks about she's not going to forgive Black men for not voting or not helping, and that who is she not to forgive anyone? I mean, I just, and maybe she never learned that, the forgiveness wouldn't be for the Black men. If that's what she's aiming to do, it would be for her, because, forgiveness would actually be for you, because she needs to go on with her career or whatever is left of it. But she has no peace. So it makes sense. She's not willing. She doesn't forgive anybody of anything, especially if it affects her keeping her power or her status. She's got to keep that power. It's not about the Black community or the well-being, or it's not about any of that. And I would encourage Black men that are making their own decisions, independent of this kind of rhetoric and propaganda. Do your thing. Don't listen to her. Do your thing. I mean, she's had her run, and you need to be informed. The policy over pandering, policy over rhetoric, policy over your emotions. It's just too. I think she knows. I think she knows that her time is coming. It's limited. So you have to do what you have to do. I mean, it's just, we've got this toxic culture of ghosting the Black male, if you will. This is kind of going in another direction here, but there's a ghosting of the Black male. From what I can see, that the Black male has is a subordinate role, or they don't want them there at all. When it comes to the feminists that reject males leading, I mean, to me, this is clearly an example of the mantra that they have, or that the affirmations that they project. They really don't want to see Black males lead. I mean, you can see it in the entertainment industry. You can see, as long as you're single and out here, if anything goes, there'll be a fan of yours. It's a very bitter, power struggling climate inside the community. And people talk about, we are at war. I've heard people talk about spiritual war. The war to hold on to sovereignty, the war to hold on to nationalism rather. But there's also a war within the community. And I think this is a sign. I think they can see that the tide could very well turn if the Black male comes back from being suppressed. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to you guys. I am going to read some of your comments. So I just want to kind of get this out, because this is a little bit off script, but it's no less. It's a part of the messaging though. So I think, Maxine is not happy. Her movement. She's not happy. The movement. This is the movement that could turn. This could turn the course of these feminists that really want the power. They figure they put in the work, right? They've gone through, they were marginalized in the 60s, And now they figured, oh well, it was more expedient to go the intersectionality route. But in the Black community, I think it's even, they had a thinner layer to work with, but they see that the tide could very well turn, that everything that they've done could very well be for naught, to no avail. They still might not get that power. It's the threat, the Black male leadership, and the return of the fathers to a home could very well can push them back. So it's certainly a power struggle. Now that's my assertion. So of course I might even open this up just a little bit. Now we're doing some final loops, but I'm also we're talking conflicts. We have active conflicts in this election cycle. And it's been, I'm even going to talk a little bit later about how they've given COVID-19. It's almost like they've humanized COVID-19 in the sake of the Great Reset, if you will. But there's also an opportunity for a Great Reset in the Black community. And that would be with the return of the males back to the homes and return to them being thoughtful and being problem solvers. That is a threat. That is a threat to this effeminate society rule. It's a threat. Maxine recognizes it. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Yes, but there's an opportunity. I'm not going to give COVID-19 the credit for it, but it's an opportunity to unmask. There's not just a great reset, it's a restoration. In the Black community, I believe it would be a restoration is what COVID is going to put. That opportunity is going to be there. So that's why I said this from the beginning, that I do believe that there is unique opportunities in this situation. In all the darkness, there is some light, whether it appears to be a postage size stamp of light in the carnage, in the wreckage. There is still some light, and it's showing up in some of the most awkward and most unlikely places. So what can I say? I want to say, for the lack of a better word, seize the day, take advantage. Take advantage wherever it is. You be the author of your own reset, but this is an opportunity, I do believe, for a reset in the Black community. I've seen a lot of, for those that have been, for example, for those that have been incarcerated, I'm seeing a lot of fathers returning to homes and reuniting with families. So I'm just thinking, it's not just, it's unique. It's a very auspicious occasion. And I think it's very unique. And I think it only comes around. I don't think it's going to come around like this again. So that's what maybe seize the day, however you want to spin that. Take advantage, increase your lot wherever you fall in that. So yeah, so this is the thing. I'm going to continue here. This is not the Maxine Waters hour, but I'm saying I truly believe that the 1960s brought in a lot of euphemisms for destructions for alternative families. And I do believe it affected the Black community, but it probably affected many, many families. Of course, you had all these activists in the government. You had activists in the universities. You had the Frankfurt schools that turned the sociology departments into much darker places. It gave birth to many of the isms. But the women, the feminists, are being used now to expound or expand those alternative lifestyles. And that is a threat. It's a threat to the Black family of today, But there's also an opportunity for a restoration. Right now, there is. That's what Maxine's railing about. That can all be undone if the Black man takes his place back, not only back into in the Black family, but also back into society. I mean, the feminists, they want to conquer, and that means they want to assume the authority that the male naturally has, but it's not possible. It's not possible for them to assume something that they don't naturally possess. So it is a power struggle. So they have to take back their power. So this is instead, what does Maxine do? To me, she's a spokeswoman for the feminist or BLM, shaming and marginalizing Black men for making an informed decision, no matter what the decision is for the ballot box. She's got to come out and shame you. It's despicable, but you know, what else do you expect? It was more of a, she showed her elite card. I see, this is another thing I've seen over the weekend, people talking about from a spiritual level. I've heard people quote the spirit of the Jezebel spirit. There's a lot of anger. There's no peace. She's just totally discouraging, disparaging, shaming. Very much what she had to say was very similar to, she had the same tone, the same tenor as Nancy Pelosi. Oh, they don't even know how government works. You see what Maxine Waters actually thinks about you? She thinks you're illiterate. You're functional illiterate, maybe. You're politically illiterate. You're low information voter. She has no respect for you. She says you're illiterate. But my message to Maxine would be, if they are, then that's a little bit by design, right? If you look at these students, look at the civic literacy across the board. Most of the country doesn't know how civics or how government works. But she specifically put that out there. And that Nancy Pelosi did the same thing on Wolf Blitzer. She basically talked down to Wolf Blitzer about him not knowing it. So there you go. You got this. These people, it's the women that are in power are showing you who they are. They're showing you what they think of you. They're showing you what they think of the people. They're showing you what they think of us peasants. We don't know anything about government. You don't know how to file any paperwork. You don't know what committee does what. I'm on the committee. I'm a member of the Black Caucus. So yes, so she's showing you who she is. I mean, she's been around for a long time. I mean, if you've even seen some of the better documentaries, you've probably even seen her making promises to people like post Rodney King situation. It's like an ambulance chaser. They're around for every crisis. But you get no solutions. You end up with no solutions. No problem solved. Little problem solved. Little or nothing. So I will resist. I will resist the temptation to say, hey, wake up. I'll resist that, because I think we're beyond waking up. I think we got to have honest conversations. And as I've said before, you have to have a college degree to realize you got to work with the hand that you're dealt with until you can do better. When it gets hard, don't just go to the government. Don't just run to the government when it gets a little bit hard. If you fall down, you get up and you do it again. And then you do it, just keep doing it. Just reassess. But we gotta get people. It's not just Black people. It's just, people have got to. We've got to get people out of. We've got to get people out of the give up easy. Oh, it's not easy, so it's not. I can't do it. I need Big Daddy government to come and bail me out right now. I just can't do it. It can't be done. It must be because I'm Black. Some people, that's where they've been. That's where they've been. They don't know anything else. Are there challenges out there? Have there been challenges? Yes. Am I denying? Am I a denier of any of past? No, I'm not. But I also will say that it's the Maxine Waters types. You know, she figured out that she could make a career out of what she does, but she's got to keep you where you are mentally and emotionally for her to stay where she is. Like I heard another a saying that you can take people off the plantation, but you can't take the plantation out of the soul. And I think that's pretty spot on. You got to break out of it. You have to retrain. We need to retrain the way people think about things. And I think it starts more at home, and it starts early. Like don't tell your kids what they can do. And please don't tell. I mean, I'm not saying that on a literal note. Like, don't tell your kids that they can't do something because they're Black. Don't do that. I'm saying, because I heard that. Somebody told me that a few times in life. And I'm just thinking, if I had actually believed that, if I had bought into that, or maybe if I had been told 100 more times, maybe I wouldn't even be who I am right now. Maybe I wouldn't be. And I'm glad I never bought into it. Were the results the same? Yeah, they were. But could I put that on every single thing? But the thing about it, I noticed it was convenient to say that when I wasn't winning or when I didn't get, it was convenient for those people to say that to me when I didn't get something that I was going after. But when I was getting what I was going after, oh, it's all fine. So you really have to examine, you have to apply some level of logic to these things. But I've said this before, that kind of rhetoric is readily available in the community. You can find somebody that'll tell you that very quickly. It won't take long. But sometimes it comes from those that are closest to you. It'll be maybe your aunt or your grandma might say that, but because they came from a different time. They came from a different time. Were they totally wrong? Will I say that people were not prejudiced or they weren't discriminating against people? I can't. There were signs of that. But is it a full on? So once again, shout out to everybody in the stream. I'm going to keep going here. I don't mean to be on this so long, but yeah, if you just watch these politicians, if you just watch the people that have risen out of this, I'm almost to say you've got a new trend. You've had a lot of new, like some people refer to them, or JLP says race hustlers. You've got some freshman race hustlers out here right now that have come out. You've got the people to replace the Al Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons. You've got a new group. Now, I think this election is also their careers will be. This determines on how long their career will last or how successful they will be. But if you're not paying attention, everything is fine. Everything's fine, and it's all fine. And unfortunately, we have people that are not paying attention. We do. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. I'm just going to run through this list really quickly. I'm going to shout out my patrons here. Shout out to Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Chrysler Imperial H, Let the Truth Be Told, Cold War Jesus, AZ Infidel, and Anthony Scioli. Thank you so much. So, yeah, you guys can drop your links if you like. I'm going to keep going here. So I want to turn the page here a bit. I want to turn the page here to something that is actually posted on the community tab. It is the technological book burnings. Now, you may have heard the concept, but today I want to talk about that article just a little bit. So we'll go into it just a little bit. And I always encourage everybody to take a look at the community tab. The article will come from CFFS, that is Citizens for Free Speech. And we had Patrick Wood and Mary Baker on as a guest on the show, but they're right on, they're spot on. So we're going to go into that just a little bit, and then we'll talk just a little bit about some more of the rhetoric and some of the propaganda that's coming out. I'm telling you, mainstream media, they all sound more and more like globalist every single day. They really do. And I'll tell you, we'll quote that source in just a little bit. But first, I just want to turn the page just a little bit. Let's talk about we talked about technocracy around here, and this will be a little bit on that. There's technocracy everywhere. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to take you to... All right, so what you see right now before you is technological book burning intends to destroy nations, especially America. Now, that comes from the citizensforfreespeech.org. And this is actually on the website. So this was published last week. So you can certainly grab that. I just want to get into it just a little bit, and you might discover some unlikely places where the technocracy is working on you and working on your communication. So according to this, the censorship is apparently as contagious as a pandemic, as more and more companies are engaging in a form of technological book burning instead of ordering people to bring their, quote, evil, end quote, books to the middle of the street to build a bonfire. AI algorithms operate at blinding speed to make unwanted things, people or organizations, just disappear. America was founded on the basis of free exchange of ideas. This is why the First Amendment was placed at the top of the Bill of Rights. Communication of ideas is essential to the health of a constitutional republic. The, quote, free market of ideas is able to sort itself out without anyone needing to tell us what is good or what is bad. Only tyrants find censorship to be a useful tool for destabilizing and destroying existing systems in order to create a different system pleasing to them, but to no one else. The depth of censorship in America is largely unrecognized. The usual culprits like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are easily identified, but behind them are a myriad of lesser entities that are even worse. Here we go. Vimeo. This major video platform is now routinely vanishing videos that don't support their chosen narrative. PayPal, this major payment platform, is terminating users it doesn't agree with, killing their finances, and withholding funds for extended periods. Visa, MasterCard, these have also terminated services with clients it deems and are spreading false information. Verizon just got caught deleting text messages sent by a large health freedom organization. The U.S. Post Office, delivering mail is no longer guaranteed as some customers are, quote, slow walked, end quote, and others experiencing packages gone missing. The Internal Revenue Service Internal Revenue Service, IRS. During the Obama administration, the IRS blatantly denied nonprofit permits to conservative groups and Tea Party organizations it didn't agree with. Internet service providers are increasingly censoring websites, traffic, and email. Government regulations, as governments invoke legislations to limit arbitrarily defined, quote, hate speech, end quote, ISPs and individual websites are forced to censor or be shut down. So I don't know if you guys are patrons of any of these services, but do you find it far-fetched? The list goes on. The point is that this tyranny of censorship and, quote, book burning, end quote, has turned into a systematic malady that, if not stopped, will eventually shred the fabric of any nation, including the United States. We are perilously close to that right now. This is precisely why Citizens for Free Speech is so intently focused on defending and supporting the First Amendment. Its destruction is an essential threat to our nation. Without free speech and freedom of the press, the ability to protest will be null and void. Without the ability to protest, the evil forces of globalization will sweep of our nation into the dustbin of history forever. Force must be met with force. None of this will stop because citizens, quote, visualize peace, end quote, with the enemies of freedom and liberty. Nor will they respond to, quote, will you please stop what you are doing, end quote. Indeed, it is time for each and every American to become a vocal force in their own communities all across America. Speak up, sound off, persuade, inform, take leadership, don't wait. So if you guys are interested, this is on the community tab. So take a look, if you will, and shout out to Citizens for Free Speech. They are actually doing quite a bit of work. And if you're interested, you can take a look at the community tab, and you'll find other hacks from Citizens of Free Speech for free speech, and a little bit more on technocracy there. Shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. Thanks so much for coming in. So we're going to move right along here. All right. So what I would like to do is we're going to kind of walk it back, change direction here. We're going to walk it back over to Fox News. And I find it is either Fox News rhetoric sounds a little bit like the Great Reset to me. So with that, I'm going to take you to that. Shout out to everybody in the stream. It's the double speak is what we're largely what we're getting to. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Thanks so much for coming in on your Monday. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for those of you that come in. I will tell you, I've emphasized this before, and I'm going to say this today, but in these times, because of the amount of censorship, this channel, like many others, will not, it doesn't get out. The word doesn't get out without you guys. And I'm saying because of that, I'm going to change some things about the way we do things here. So it doesn't matter whether you're a member or not. I care less about membership. This channel was really not, I didn't really set this up as with a profit goal in mind. This is more about literacy and getting things out. So it's more important that the artificial intelligence be, if we subvert that with likes and shares and subscribing rather than anything, those things are more important than even the financial, as far as I'm concerned. I would rather have no members than not get the message out, or people not know, or not have people be within the sound of this broadcast. So I appreciate you guys. So we're going to make some changes to that. As the objective of the channel is number one. It's not membership. It's not really in lockstep with the program, if you will, in terms of YouTube and their hierarchy of mobility. So what you see before you right now is, if you can see this picture here, you have a woman inside her house wearing a mask. And it says millions of Americans plan to move to more affordable areas amid pandemic. Okay, according to this, the CV pandemic has given many Americans more job flexibility. And in turn, tens of millions plan to relocate. About 14 to 23 million households, or as many as 11.5, said they plan to relocate to another city or region, according to a study from Job Marketplace. Upwork, with a higher percentage of residents in major cities at 20.6%, saying they plan to do so. One of the biggest motivators for more than half the households was this desire to live in a house that was at least 10% more affordable, the study showed. So maybe we can go into that bio for just a second. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Hope you guys are doing well. So yes, so we're going to move on there, but it sounds like the Great Reset to me. That rhetoric is the Great Reset. The way that they characterize the characterization and the mischaracterization of le COVID-19, the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, the virus, whatever. It's being characterized in so many ways, but it's all, to me, all signs lead to Rome, or all signs lead to the Great Reset. So I'm just thinking the language just gets to be so disingenuous is what it's hard to ignore that. And I was really, Fox Business is, a subsidy, I guess, of Fox News, but, so I guess I was bound to see it that way. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to What Is She Up To Now? So believe me, I'm going to read your comments. You guys have great comments in there. Please keep those coming. I'm not ignoring you. I just want to get through this. This is a busy week. This is a huge week. And I'm sure you guys have got stories about your own individual voting experiences, polling places. Some of you haven't voted yet. Wherever you fall in that, I'm sure it's very unique to you. Sorry, it looks like got a little bit of an ad here. That wasn't for you. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share another piece. And of course, we've talked about this before. The World Economic Forum really gives you the scope of this agenda. We have U.S. elections, but the U.S. has a very special place, of course, in the world. And unfortunately, I think many people they are really disconnected with anything outside of the U.S. It's all about what they kind of stay in the frame of, in the mindset, or they don't go outside of what's happening here in the U.S. They don't put that into perspective, the U.S. into perspective when it comes to global economy and globalization and those kinds of, in those areas. So, and that's why I wanted to bring you this clip. So I will switch over right now. Shout out to everybody in the stream. Thanks so much for coming in. So I said all that to say about the memberships and all that, because I don't want to lose sight of what I haven't lost sight, but I think I have my own rubric or my own litmus test for the direction of the channel and the way people are responding. If I'm not getting the responses that I want, then I have to reassess. And I think that, this is not a growth stream, and I don't run this channel the way that some other people run their channel. And that's I'm within my right to do that. But I think that sometimes people might think that this is all about, this is not a huge channel, and it's not, and I'm not beholden to, I want people to come here, but I'm not beholden to, ideologues or a base, if you will. So everybody should be happy with where they are. Sometimes you find out things are not for you. It's not a good fit for you. So Yeah, and that's reasonable. That's that's life. That's human nature. It's nothing to it's not a point of contention with me. It's just the way it is. Okay, so shout out to everybody in the stream. So everything you need to know about the U.S. election. Now, this was released last week, so you can see before you. A woman carries her ballot to fill it out in a voting booth at the Brooklyn Armory after waiting several hours in line with hundreds of other voters during early voting in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn borough, New York City, New York. Okay, so that picture was done there. All right, so of course you've got your few points here, but it talks about the virus has led to a rise in early and mail-in voting. The experts predict a higher voter turnout than the 2016 election. Here's how the election works and when we'll know the outcome. So this is the World Economic Forum, and this is their expectation. Okay. And some people, well, who are they? Well, see, if you start asking those kinds of questions, then you'll start to tap into some other things. The unspoken is what you're not hearing people say I think is just as important. Sometimes it's more important than what you hear people say. And I think the World Economic Forum does that. Okay, so here we go. November 3rd, 2020 is election day in the United States, and Americans across the country have already started casting their ballots to choose their next president and vice president, along with members of Congress, governors, and local officials. Here are some commonly asked questions about the election and what to expect. Okay, how has the virus affected the election? Historically, the vast majority of American electorate votes in three ways: in person, on election day, early in person, or absentee, also known as vote by mail. The virus and the associated concerns and restrictions on large in-person gatherings have caused election officials across the country to shift priorities and resources to ensure Americans can safely cast their votes. The biggest challenge for many voting Americans this year is the rise in absentee voting and vote by mail. Some version of mail-in voting had traditionally been available in every state prior to the pandemic, but the practice has been greatly expanded this year. 9 states, plus the District of Columbia, have proactively sent ballots to all registered voters ahead of the election, while another 34 have instituted, quote, no excuse, end quote, policies, allowing anyone to vote absentee. In total, the New York Times predicts 75% of registered American voters will be eligible to receive a ballot in the mail this year, with more than 87 million ballots sent thus far. So this is just a bit of this is their trajectory. This is not my trajectory. I'm saying that this is what the World Economic Forum goes for, and this is more of the globalist view. And of course, I consider it more left-leaning because of their sources, the New York Times, for one. And they pretty much give you the goals of what the world, what their ideologues would like to see, whether it's in terms of economics or in terms of government. And from right now, even the polls, I'm not sure how accurate that information is going to be, because you guys know the media's integrity is very much the lack of veracity there gives us all pause right about now. So what you have there is a chart. So I can actually drop that link for you if you want to dig into that a little bit more. So yeah, so it gives you here the United States VEP turnout rates set from 1789 to 2018. Presidential elections, midterm elections. So it kind of gives you the whole 9. So of course you're going to hear the Electoral College 10, 20 times more in the next less than 48 hours. And according to this, now this is their interpretation. How is the winner determined now? The U.S. uses the Electoral College system for determining who becomes president. The framers of the U.S. Constitution placed great importance on checks and balances on power, and the system helped preserve the rights of individual states while protecting an independent executive branch. to put it in context, the country had just won its independence from the British monarchy, and the framers had to design a new system for a new country whose people had never before elected a national leader. According to this, Alexander Hamilton outlined the rationale for the Electoral College in one of the Federalist Papers. This is number 68. It was thought to be fail-safe, an obstacle, quote, opposed to cabal, intrigue, and corruption, end quote. Essentially, the system was created as a compromise between electing, representatives by a popular vote and a vote in Congress. Though of note, its popularity among Americans has waned in the past few decades. You see it, you see the language here? It has waned. The popularity amongst Americans, the Electoral College has waned. So we'll see about that. But you see what I'm saying? You know, this is the World Economic Forum. So your framing here is very much is what I could say in there. They do their own version of doublespeak, what I call their vernacular. Their idioms are a little bit swayed. Their position is more of a globally swayed here. So, but it's important to know what you're dealing with, or to know what's happening. Apparently we're not the only ones that are watching we're not, the whole world's watching. When they say that, this speaks to that. What are they watching? Do most Americans understand the Electoral College? That is something that I think many people have tried to put some level of education out there. I've seen PragerU try to educate people on the Electoral College, but ultimately, whose responsibility is it? Is it by design? Hello, Grace Fun. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for hitting that like button. It's nice to see the thumb action there. I don't get to see that in here very much. So I like emojis. Even though it's not a grow channel, I like emojis. All right. And so with that, I'm going to read some comments. So I might start backwards a little bit and go up. So we'll start out with Joseph Francis Burton. He says the popularity of the Electoral College has waned among urban Americans. I can see that. But the thing about it is it's waned with those that to me, the wane is more on those that are less informed. I think I've seen that. I've seen that even back in 2016, or just conversations that I've had with people over the last 3.5, 4 years, almost 4 years. They never understood what the difference between the popular vote and the Electoral College. And it just kind of incites, or they keep the anger going with that. When people are not informed, they make their decisions are very well influenced by the ignorance. But I say that there's no excuse for not knowing. If you want to know something, it's out there for you. All right. So I have a comment here from What Is She Up To Now? Says, you want the truth to get out over making money from this. I get it. That's how I do my channel too. Well, I have to come over to your channel. What Is She Up To Now? Yes, that's what I'm saying. It gets lost. I think it's great to have platforms, but I know we all have different goals, and you get lost. Sometimes you get lost in the sauce, as they say. And it was never my intention to get lost in the sauce. So, it's not. And for one, when I talk about careers or just teaching or whatever, I don't think people go into education, or I don't think people go into those positions for the money. You're just not. And you don't go into the arts for the money. You want to be the best you can be. You want to be most competitive, but you're not necessarily, you may never get to 1 million followers. You may not. But for one, in the arts, that's artistry. You do more. It's more for you sometimes. And if people like what you do, then they'll stick around. You'll get the responses that you want. So thanks so much for that. And Sean, Touchdown Sean says, right now the women in politics are extremely argumentative, non-compliant, difficult to reason with, and it's going to help destroy America. Yes, absolutely. The power struggle is intense. It's very much intense, and I think they're all feeling threatened right about now because they've been building up to this glass ceiling breaking, and it hasn't happened. It's they build up all this tension, and then they get no release. You just think about it. You just go back to 2016 when Miss Clinton didn't break that glass ceiling. So there's tension. We're still dealing with 2016 tension. Okay. We're still dealing with that. So what happens when people don't release tension? That is not this show. So shout out to everybody in the stream. And what is she up to now? This is people who can think for themselves or who invent things too. They don't want the either because they want to own everything. Touchdown Sean says Maxine Waters is definitely a female clan with a tan against black people, especially black men. Thank you for that. And what is she up to now says we are cattle to them in office. However, we are rather smart people and will think for ourselves. And he also says Maxine does not want anybody to be able to think for themselves. She has to think for everyone. Well, it's also the thing about it is that it's easy to control people and see, this is what I talk about when it comes to education. Like the standards are so low. If no one ever challenges you, then you kind of stay in the same place. They don't have the framework or the concept to go beyond what you give them. You're controlled. You are completely controlled. When you have nothing to draw on other than what's coming, what's been given to you. And it's totally they're losing the juice. What I say, they don't have the juice anymore. I don't think Obama has the juice. Whatever juice he had, he doesn't have it anymore. Maxine's losing her juice. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Shout out to KG Cleveland. Shout out to Pammy Clyde. Thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Anthony Scioli. Thank you so much for coming in. Please drop your link. So the World Economic Forum, it can be a thick one to go through. But I'm not going to put you through that article. What I will do is I will put it in the stream for you if you want to know the World Economic Forum's take on the U.S. election. And yes, I will put that in the link for you. But but you can see, they're even quoting the role of artificial intelligence. I think that this is a portal. This is a portal, a transient position that we're in. Artificial intelligence. They talk about the roles of artificial intelligence on the World Economic Forum, and telling you don't be afraid of artificial intelligence. It will lead to long-term job growth. Let's look at that really quickly. I know what you think about that, but you'll find out. You'll figure it out in time. Blind guy, I appreciate that, but this is not if they did take down my channel, then that's what they do. I'm not gonna run for cover because other people's channels. I'm actually surprised that my channel is still here. So if it's still here, then either I dodged some bullets or I was supposed to be here right now. So I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna put I'm not going to throw water on myself, or no, I'm not going to do that. Thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it. Yeah, they remove channels all the time. This is not a money-making channel. It's not a growth stream. I'm not a shill for anybody. So if they want to pull my channel, hey, they were in control all along. Thank you. Shout out to Steve Willis. Thank you so much for coming in. So let's have a look at this one. We're going to go over to Don't Fear AI. All right. So this is coming from the World Economic Forum. So here again, if you want to know, if you kind of want an outline, or if you want to know the trajectory, you can look at World Economic Forum. And we've been doing that. You get the technocracy scope, you get all of it right here. The global agenda, the Great Reset. These are things that are coming. So don't fear AI. They say it will lead to long-term job growth. So, see here again, right here, it says this article is a part of what? The Jobs Reset Summit. So they've had entire meetings on how to reset governments and reset economies. And that's what this is here for you to see it. So maybe I'll drop this one in there. This one's pretty dense too. I'll drop this one in the link for you. All right, so we'll just look a little bit of look on this. So the COVID-19 has accelerated the automation of many tasks, leading some to fear artificial intelligence will take their jobs. But AI will create more jobs than it destroys. To embrace this change, companies and governments must focus on upskilling and reskilling. So you might want to, I don't know if you guys, I don't know what you guys do out there, but and it's always great to increase your lot. It's always great to be self-motivated and to expand or broaden your horizons. That's not a bad thing. But, for them to mischaracterize things is where I have, an issue, whether it's an American propaganda that's doing it, or whether it's, the World Economic Forum. This is what they do. That's what they do. So according to this, the pandemic has accelerated technological advances and automation of many routine tasks, for contactless cashiers to robots delivering packages. In this environment, many are concerned that AI, artificial intelligence, will drive significant automation and destroy jobs in the coming decades. Just a few decades ago, the internet created similar concerns as it grew. Despite skepticism, the technology created millions of jobs and now comprises 10% of the U.S. GDP. Today, AI is poised to create even greater growth in the U.S. and global economies. 63% of CEOs believe AI will have a larger impact than the internet, according to the PwC's annual global CEO survey. All right, while the fourth industrial revolution technologies driven by AI will continue to fundamentally change the world and the way we work and live, AI may not lead to massive unemployment. Instead, AI technology will create more jobs than it automates. These newly created jobs will require new skills, necessitate significant investment in upskilling and reskilling young people and adults. But businesses and governments can and must work together to address this transition and embrace the positive societal benefits of AI. So you might step into some of the stats on this, but here again, you guys be your own fact checkers out there. I've said that before, and that's actually your responsibility. I say that all the time. That reading is self-education, and if you want to take this perspective, then that's fine. But I would advise you to go beyond that. You'll have much more to draw on than the mainstream media. This is not a mainstream media show, and we know that. So with that said, you see you have a little bit of a job landscape. According to this, is by 2025, new jobs will emerge and others will be displaced by a shift in the division of labor between humans and machines. So it talks about, if you guys are looking for gigs, that's the musician in me, looking for gigs. They're showing you what's demand, what the growing demand will be. They're showing what's a decrease, where the decreases in the job demands, where those sectors are. So I'm saying this to be objective. I don't think that, World Economic Forum is, I think that there's valuable information there. You how you use it is even more important, but you can still, gain the insight that you need in this climate by checking out the site, whether you agree or not. But at least you know what's happening, what the technocrats are saying. And the technocrats we know are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're in the government. They're in businesses. They're everywhere. They're in the private sector. They're everywhere. Public, they're everywhere. So you can get more on your stats here. AI and job growth. They're projecting for 2030. There's a lot of things that were projected for 2030. And agenda, you can go into the whole agenda 2030, wherever you want to go. But this is the projection on that. So they have a video here. I'm not going to show that, but I will put this in the stream for you. And you can even fact check this against, they talk about the demands for data analysts and scientists, AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists, digital marketing and strategy specialists, these software and application developers, whether that's an app or whatever, information security analyst, digital transformation specialist. That's the demand, giving you a forecast here. So that, and to me, it makes sense. If this is where we're going, then these are the jobs that are going to be in demand and things that are going to be phased out. So you do have a little bit of, they give you a little bit of symmetry, I guess, on that. So I'm going to drop this one in the stream for you. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This was a little bit flashy. Okay. So shout out to everybody in the stream. So yeah, I don't know, try not to get lost in the sauce on the final loop. We opened up with a little bit of rhetoric, and I don't know, how are you guys doing in terms of your voting or your polls out in the world, or some people say out in these streets? How are you doing there? That'll be good to know. And actually, I might open it up just for a few minutes. So I'm going to open it up for like 5 minutes and see if anybody has anything else to add to today. But there may be something for you guys tomorrow. We'll see what happens with the poll watching and all. That's a little bit tricky, but see what we can do there. So I'm going to drop this link into the stream. So if you have something, then you're more than welcome to share that. I'll give you 2-3 minutes to come in. And then we'll close this one out. I want to thank you guys so much for all that you do. And yes, and so those of you that are actually, if you're Patreon members, you guys are free to drop your links in the stream if you would like to do that. But I'm actually going to, I'm going to come out of that so much. So if you're here, you'll get to do some self promotion that way. And because I need to focus on what I'm doing here a lot more. So, and also we have mods. So I'm going to be making some changes throughout. And I appreciate you guys for all that you do. All right, I'm going to go down the list right now and just do a couple of shout outs, and then we will close out. Touchdown Sean, thank you so much for being here. Anthony Scioli, Pammy Clyde, it's nice to see you. And KG Cleveland, thank you for coming in. Just Joseph Francis Burton. I'm sorry, I'm getting in my own way here. Joseph Francis Burton, thank you so much for coming in. I want to read that comment that you made. You said, just last night, my TDS mother was predicting abortion clinic bombing. What has she been listening to? Now I haven't heard that, Joseph Francis Burton. I haven't heard that, but that is pretty intense, pretty extreme. So easy on the TDS. I think now it's beyond TDS. It's not TDS anymore. It's much more extreme. Let's see who else. What is she up to now? Thank you so much for coming in. I want to come by and see what's happening. Some of your channels, if I'm not subscribed to them, I will come around and see what's happening. Shout out to the Blind Guy Show. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for coming in. But yes, but see, this is the thing. You know, I will say, I want to make a comment. This is kind of going back to a comment that you made. You know, there are a lot of people that have been pulled down and lost, even on the Instagram. I've shared more on Instagram, but I've never been one of, I always share what I want to share on this channel is what I do. And if they pull it, they pull it. But I'm going to keep doing what I do around here. And and I appreciate you guys for tuning in, tapping in and tuning in. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and keep an eye on the community tab. I'll be putting some updates on the community tab, as well as if there's another stream to come out. I think there's probably gonna be another stream this week, because this week is going to be fully loaded. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but that's the way you'll stay abreast of what's going on for the week. And also tomorrow's the big day. So maybe we'll see you around for some poll watching, and maybe we'll see you around for that. We'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be a little tricky, considering the source and the lack of veracity that we have in the media. So thank you guys so much for all that you do, and have a great rest of your Monday.